안녕하세요 여러분, 정말 오랜만이죠. 오늘은 이 교과서를 소개하고 싶어요. I know that a lot of you ask me what Korean textbooks I use, and even though moving to Singapore I don't have a lot of books right now, this is one that I will be using when I tutor Korean. It is really good for people who are upper beginner to mid-intermediate. So let's take a look at what is inside this book. There is a Korean Grammar for Speaking number 1, which is a blue book, and Korean Grammar for Speaking number 2. So I'll be reviewing this one. If you're interested in book number 1, please check out the blog post I wrote about it. I will put the link in the description so you can see a more in-depth book review. The first thing you'll notice is that there is a section right at the beginning of the book called How to Study Languages. So the author, Song-won, is also really interested in foreign languages. So it's really interesting to read what he says about how to learn languages, like memorizing characters, studying grammar, memorizing words little by little, studying with movies and TV shows, and talking to native speakers. And he goes on all the way to 10 points about how to effectively learn languages. I really like that touch in this book. It gives the book a more human touch, and you can understand that the book is written by a fellow language learner, so you can trust that it is a good and effective way to learn Korean. If you're curious to know if this book is really for your level, let's take a look at some of the content. There are grammar points like 나요, 인가요, 을까요, 을까봐, 얼마나 되다, 을지도, 줄 알다, 줄 모르다. So the grammar starts pretty basically, and then it moves to more advanced grammars near the end, like 면 할수록 or 겠다. 겠다 is not that intermediate, that's pretty basic grammar. But you can see that this is definitely not beginner, but not super advanced either. I really enjoy the page design because it's easy to understand in the sense that you will always have vocabulary words on the left here with example sentences and translations, and exercises on the right page. So if you just navigate, you'll see grammar and vocabulary exercises. Grammar and vocabulary exercises. No illustrations, which I also like it. The book just gets down to the point. All the important grammar points are put in red, so it's easy to use. And I really enjoy how many exercises there are. So don't worry, at the end of the book there are the answers. So for people who self-study, like myself, you don't need a teacher to take you through this book. It's an excellent resource to use on your own. Speaking of resources, one of the really great things about this book is it comes with a whole bunch of audio files. Those are files that you can listen to see how the things are pronounced, and a little bit of extra content to go with the lesson. So Song-won recorded it, and it's on his website and his SoundCloud. So do also check the links below because all of the extra audio files are there. And also for book number 1 you will get those. In terms of the example sentences, I find that those are upper intermediate to advanced. Those are really sentences you will be using not just in daily life but more specific situations. So you can be assured that even if you are an advanced learner, there will definitely be vocabulary or example sentences that you can still learn. Even if you know the grammar patterns, there will be vocab that is beneficial for you to learn. I think it's good that there's a focus on making your own sentences, but I do find that as a language tutor, there are lots of students who struggle to come up with their own sentences, and this can be frustrating or boring for them. So if you don't like making your own sentence, or if you find it difficult, this book will have a lot of making your own sentences without prompts. There will only be one word and you have to come up with a sentence. That is a good thing in the sense that it teaches you to think for yourself, but just note that if you don't enjoy making your own sentences, this book has a lot of activities like that. In Korean Grammar for Speaking 2, there are 61 units, and right at the end you get a final test. So there are exercises and tests throughout the book. The final test will go through, you can see here, Unit 6, Unit 7, Unit 8, so every unit will have a test question in here. And then what I also really enjoy about this book is they have a huge verb list at the end. Some people love using lists of words to learn new words. Other people find it difficult that it's out of context. But this book caters for both people. If you just want to kind of ignore the chapters for now and just focus on learning new words, great, you can do that. If you want example sentences, the book has both of that. It starts with non-받침 verbs, so those are verbs that don't have final consonants, so easy verbs, okay? Like 나누다, 나오다, 날씨가 풀리다, okay? You have your non-받침 verbs, then you have more non-받침 verbs, then you have 받침 verbs, the verbs that have final consonants. So 걸다, 깊다, 겪다, lots of verbs, yes. Then you have lots of 하다 verbs, 받침 adjectives, 하다 adjectives, and then your answer sheet. Songwon also has a YouTube channel called Korean Grammar for Speaking, where he makes some lessons focused on what the book contains. So you can use that as an extra aid. So you won't feel alone in your self-study journey. There is support from Songwon on his channel, as well as through the audio files I mentioned earlier. The paper is also a nice paper. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but some textbooks have a glossy type of paper. So Korean Grammar in Use specifically has this kind of glossy paper that your pen will sometimes smudge. But this is more like a not so glossy. So if you write, your pen is not going to smudge that much. And I really enjoy the amount of example sentences. I always say I enjoy example sentences because you learn language in the context of a sentence. You don't just learn single unconjugated verbs or random grammar points. By learning a sentence, you'll learn a bunch of new words plus grammar, plus something that you can repeat to someone later. And if you learn a sentence, you can always start replacing it with different verbs or different grammar structures or different tenses. So you use sentences like little puzzle pieces and you add different pieces in to make it your own. Some cons, I find that even though the book is called Korean Grammar for Speaking, it is not immediately conversational. And that I mean specifically for book number 1. It starts with learning Hangul and then the time and numbers. I would have expected for a book for speaking that it would start with greetings and talking about yourself or your hobbies or how to make friends, but it dives right into telling the time and saying numbers. But remember, that is for book number 1. Book number 2, I still think has a pretty good conversational start to it. There's also no long conversations. Generally, books intended to teach you how to speak will have example conversations where person A says this, person B, A, B. Here it is basically just a few sentences. The longest conversation will be 1 question and 1 answer, so just take a note of that. Overall, I can highly recommend this book, but please remember to read my blog post because I also have some tips on how to most effectively use this book, how to really work from this book. Alright, so thank you so much to Songwon for sending me this book. I really hope you guys enjoy it. All the details are in the description box, as well as the link where you can purchase your own copy of this book. Thank you guys so much for watching. 봐주셔서 감사하고 다음 영상에 봐요. 안녕!